Well, hello there. This is the next video in the 45 planetary combos series that are the scales for mastering astrology. Here we're going to discuss the Sun that rules Leo and Mercury that rules Gemini and Virgo. As we look at the chart here, Sun is self-expression and Mercury is intellect that together form healing and affirmations. Sun and Mercury, their mythological attributes. When we look at this, the myth of how the two interacted with each other in Greek mythology and Roman, Mercury, the younger half-brother, stole Apollo's cattle. Apollo told both their fathers, Zeus, and made Mercury return them. Then they became friends, and Mercury had invented a lyre, the first musical instrument, and gave it to Apollo, which Apollo became known for as one of his deifications is the deity of music. So Mercury invented the lyre, but it was Apollo who became famous for the lyre. It shows the relationship between the inventor and the artist. So another mythological attribute is that both Apollo and Mercury were known for their healing abilities. Apollo's healing is embodied through his son, Asclepius, who is the god of medicine. Both Asclepius and Mercury carried healing rods. They had these serpents. Asclepius had the single rod serpent, and Mercury carried the caduceus, which had a dual serpent rod with wings. So let's look at the movement attributes of Mercury and the Sun as they move through the zodiac. Focusing on Mercury, Mercury has the attributes of speed and invisibility in relationship to the Sun, because Mercury is the closest in orbit to the Sun of all our planets in the solar system. It has the quickest orbit, which is why Mercury is known as Quicksilver as well, being quick, agile, moving quickly. Most of the time, Mercury is hidden within the sunlight, so he also has the helmet of invisibility and stealth. So Mercury becomes invisible when as an evening or morning star, when Mercury is at the greatest elongation away from the Sun. So when Mercury is far enough away from the Sun and the Sun sets, you can see Mercury as the evening star just above the horizon, or right before the Sun rises in the morning, you can see Mercury as the rising sun, or as the rising planet, I mean to say. So another movement attributes associated with Sun and Mercury. Let's look at the timing. The Sun moves through the zodiac signs, one sign in approximate time of a month, and then within a year returns back to its original placement. Mercury moves with the Sun because it's in a close orbit with the Sun. So Mercury is never too far away from the Sun. But it is no more than one sign in front or back of the Sun's ecliptic. So either to the east or to the west, it is no more than one sign, or maybe most likely in the same sign. So Mercury, along with Venus, that also has a closer orbit to the Sun than the Earth, is part of the Sun's entourage. So Mercury is often conjunct with the Sun, but does not get far enough away to form any other aspects. Therefore, we don't really look at aspects between the Sun and Mercury. Some people say that when Mercury is conjunct the Sun, gives the Sun sort of an intellectual, or one self-expression, a little more of an intellectual boost and a more analytical boost. But I tend to not pay a whole lot of attention to that, because Mercury is often conjunct the Sun. When it is rare is when you can actually see Mercury because it's far away from the Sun. So the function of Mercury in relationship to the Sun is to reinforce the Sun when it's in the same sign or the same house, or extend the reach of the Sun's entourage. So wherever the Sun is, it could be in the sign, let's say, of Aries. Mercury might be in the sign of Taurus or in Pisces. And so that buys up more real estate in the zodiac in that particular area. Same thing with Venus when we get around to talking about the Sun and Venus. So Mercury may extend a sign or up to 2 houses away from the position of the Sun. So let's look at the Sun and Mercury sign rulerships. The Sun rules Leo and Mercury rules Gemini and Virgo. So the Sun ruling Leo has the characteristics of showing the outward nature of self-expression. And Mercury in Gemini demonstrates the sibling aspect of Mercury. And Virgo is the analytical and healing side of Mercury. So Sun and Mercury, let's look at Sun in Gemini that's ruled by Mercury as a mutual sign placement. Gemini in mythology are Castor and Pollux who shared adventures together. So the characteristics of siblings comes through this placement. Remember, the Sun and Mercury were half-brothers to each other. So there's that sense of rivalry as well as companionship. So there are characteristics of cunning, curiosity, and exploration that you'll see a lot with Sun and Gemini. Sun and Virgo is also ruled by Mercury. Now in this position, Virgo emphasizes the healing and analytical abilities. As you see, Virgo's holding a caduceus on one hand as well. Mercury rules over the Sun in this position, and in this case, there's a tendency to think before expressing oneself, to contemplate. So Virgo has that analytical ability. And if you notice, Virgo is holding shafts of wheat, which she is the harvest maiden sign. So separating the wheat from the chaff, being able to dissect and analyze thoughts. So now let's look at Mercury and Leo being ruled by the Sun. I thought this was a good cartoon to show this placement, which comes from the L. Frank Baum's novel, The Wizard of Oz, where the wizard is hiding behind the curtain and says, "Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain." And it sort of has, in this particular position, the intellect of Mercury is expressed through Leo outwardly. So the Sun rules over Mercury, the self-expression. There's a tendency to advertise intelligence or to promote one's wizard abilities beyond what they are actually capable of. So self-expression ruling over the intellect as opposed to the intellect ruling over self-expression. So where you see the Sun in Virgo is someone who's a little bit more self-critical than Mercury in Leo, which is someone who advertises more their intellectual ability. So a summary of the Sun and Mercury. The Sun and Mercury travel together with Venus as an entourage. Therefore, they extend each other's influence across neighboring signs and houses. The half-brothers, Sun and Mercury, show how there is a rivalry, but also a camaraderie in sharing the gifts between these planets. So where you have Sun and Mercury, there's an exchange of information, exchange of knowledge, there's self-expression, advertising knowledge, also analyzing oneself, basically all the characteristics you see with Sun and Mercury. Well, I hope you found this video useful. There's 44 other combinations in this series, and I hope you get to explore them all. I think that going through these videos will help you gain mastery, just like practicing the scales of a musical instrument. Thank you for watching.